Hey, welcome in. You're tuned in to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We appreciate you guys being here. I got a ticker at the bottom. I changed things around a little bit in what I was talking about with the BigJReport.com SEC Power Rankings and the ticker. You notice I could fit 14 up in there. I didn't, the rock bottom guys. If you read the ticker, those are the BigJReport.com SEC Power Rankings. You'll see 14 teams there. I didn't include the rock bottom guys. The rock bottom of the SEC, which is basically Mississippi State at 15 and Vanderbilt at 16. I've got the top 14. And everybody in that list, there's a lot of teams in the middle. Man, they want to get to the top. There's teams toward the tail end that want to get to the middle. It's going to be a race. Going to be a race. Now, take a look at the ticker. Gator fans said, I'm one. You think I got the Gators too low or too high? You got to remember that Athlon and Lindy's had the Gators like 11th and 12th, respectively. Phil Steele, in his publication, did say he felt Florida. Phil Steele and his staff, I'm assuming, Phil's at Florida, can have a winning season. A winning season, I'm not sure if you finish 11th or 12th. Maybe you could in the SEC. You're playing some podunk junctions. Florida's got the toughest schedule in the nation, according to most publications that I've looked at, most media outlets. They've got Florida. They do have Florida. If they got Florida at 11 and 12, it's going to be hard to have a winning season. They got Florida with the toughest schedule in the nation. And believe you me, there's teams in the SEC that have just about as tough a schedule as Florida. There's no doubt. Everybody's playing pretty much the same amount of SEC conference games. Back in the old days, 1960s, really before I started following college football. About 1970 would have been my earliest year when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. They would actually play some unbalanced schedules where one team might play 7 conference games, another team might only play 5. They were probably concentrating more back then on maybe rivals, for whatever reason, rivals that were not a part of the SEC. As many of you know, not everybody knows this, but Georgia Tech was a member of the SEC prior to myself starting to follow the conference in 1970. I guess Georgia Tech wanted to be like a Notre Dame of the South, kind of, and they became an independent. Later, they joined the ACC, as you know. But that's a ticker. I guess the one surprising thing that I changed a little bit on, I moved Alabama up to 2, Texas to 3, Ole Miss 4. I like some of what Tennessee has done, but I'm not sure Tennessee will hold up at where I've got them at 5, but I've got them at 5 right now to start the race. We're going to make this our preseason. And this is just where they're starting. This is just a starting point. Our preseason Big J Report SEC Power Rankings: Georgia 1, Alabama 2, Texas Longhorns 3. They got a great quarterback room, but you can only play one quarterback at a time. Texas 3, Ole Miss 4, Tennessee 5th, LSU 6th. LSU finds their defense a little bit. Texas A&M 7, Auburn second year under Hugh Freeze 8, Florida 9, Missouri 10. Some Missouri fans that get mad at that prediction. Man, I was against Missouri all last year, but man, I picked Missouri like at the bottom of the SEC East last year. And what did they do? They really proved me wrong all year. Now, that offensive tackle, they got to replace him at left tackle because he's now a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so that's a ticker. You can look at it all throughout this podcast. I got 14 teams on there. There's, obviously there's 16 teams in the SEC. I got also, you can add Vanderbilt and Mississippi State in there. I got Mississippi State at 15th, Vanderbilt at 16th. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Primarily talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. There was an interesting post in the Big J Report Facebook group by TJ, one of our moderators in the group. TJ wrote, "It appears this Jaguars' new defensive coordinator is the real deal. I mean, I really like him so far." That's what TJ's saying. I would agree with TJ. He's got a great approach. He's a great communicator. He plays an attacking style of football. I don't disagree with any of that. For example, during training camp, he's having the players break the huddle and run quickly to the line. Man, it sounds like Pete Rose almost, doesn't it? What did Pete Rose used to do? Even when he got a walk, he wouldn't walk to first. He would run to first, right? I'm going to tell you, this new defensive coordinator for the Jaguars. You remember those old black and white movies where there was a train robber with a mustache? He looks just like a train robber, like a modern day train robber. Man, I'd rather have him on my team than on the other side of the sidelines. I think he's going to be good. New defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. So TJ went on to write. He didn't know I was going to talk about his post in the podcast. For example, during training camp, he's having players break the huddle and run quickly to the line. It's all about energy and speed and being on top of it, crisp, TJ says. In addition, there's no depth chart. Everyone's getting, different opportunities at different positions, and that's probably a unique and cool thing. And they're using that to see, how they play with other players alongside them in different positions to gauge the player. There's no depth chart at this point. TJ said of new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen. Most of all, it's the attacking style. TJ went on to say, "I like the press coverage and going after the quarterback." You got to be careful. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence is going up against the Jags defense, and he's got the red shirt on, I believe. There's not going to be a lot of hitting of Trevor Lawrence at this point in practice. There's no depth chart at this point, TJ said. Most of all of it's the attacking style. TJ wanted to say, "I like the press coverage and going after the quarterback." It certainly is going to help this offense. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If the Jags return to form on defense. So far, so good on Ryan Nielsen, the new defense coordinator. TJ said our new defensive coordinator from the Atlanta Falcons, where he was in 2023. And yes, he's got experience as a D coordinator. He brought some of his guys with him that he's worked with in the past. And it's looking pretty good so far. Now, I made some comments in here too after what TJ wrote. I see Marcus Medlock did too. Marcus Medlock wrote, "I love his vibe. I love his vibe, man. He ain't playing the radio. Guys know where they're supposed to be, and the style is to dictate and not to react, if that makes sense. Attacking defense is what nearly put us in the Super Bowl in 2017. And I'll interject here and say, and then all the injuries in 2018 cost people their jobs, and players were benched. And Marcus went on to say, although we got robbed in Foxborough, no doubt about that, right? So I wrote some things to TJ. I told TJ, I said, "Man, I like this post you made. Thank you. DC's," and I wrote this, "DC's I like the last few years in Jacksonville. I think I need to edit this a little bit because this is all about DCs I've liked or didn't like the last few years. I'm going to have to edit this, but we'll do that. But as we translate it to the podcast and YouTube and audio podcast, DCs I have liked were not like the last few years in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. I like Joe Cullen, and that was an Urban Meyer hire. Urban Meyer was responsible for the most of the early part of the 2021 draft. We're talking about Tyson Campbell, Trevor Lawrence, who basically 31 out of the 32 GMs would have picked number one overall. I'm pretty certain of that. He picked, Travis Etienne, a pretty good running back late in the first round. Then he got Tyson Campbell atop the second round. I think later on, top of the third round or thereabouts, Walker Little has been a pretty good plug and play guy at offensive tackle, whether he's playing left tackle predominantly or sometimes right tackle. The draft in 2021 was probably the best. I think the jury is probably out on the 2024 draft because I think Balky's done a really good job at re-signing players now. Done a good job with free agents, but let's see how this draft comes out. The Jaguars have drafted a lot of players in 2024 now. They certainly have. So I made some comments on the guys I like that have been defense coordinators for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I liked or didn't like the last few years with the Jaguars. I liked Joe Cullen. And let me tell you, Joe Cullen, after Urban Meyer got the axe, even before the season ended, Joe Cullen, I thought he did a good job that year with what he had to work with. I like Joe Cullen. Joe Cullen ended up he'd been at Baltimore. He ended up going to Kansas City last year in 2023. He was a Jags DC in 2021, and he won a Super Bowl with Kansas City as a position coach last year in 2023. A Super Bowl, Joe Cullen. He was a Jags DC in 2021. I wish he had been able to stay. And now I like the new guy, defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen, here in 2024. Defensive coordinators of the Jaguars I did not like include recent Jags defensive coordinator Todd Wash, and in 2022 and 2023, I was not that fond of DC defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell. There you have it, two I liked and two I didn't like recently. Mike Caldwell, I think, was a little too hybrid. The problem I had also with Mike Caldwell was a couple of things. In 2022, I mean, he's got Trayvon Walker, who got 10 sacks last year. He got Trayvon Walker dropping in coverage. I wasn't fond of that. I didn't see as much of that in 2023, but we saw that in 2022. I went on to make some more comments to TJ's post or article or post, if you will, in the Big J Report Facebook group. I said new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen teaches pad level fundamentals. I saw it in his video when he was a defensive coordinator of the Falcons. He believes in an attacking style of defense that attacks where the opposing offense is attempting to move the football. Makes sense, right? The Jags could not stop opposing teams from getting sustained drives in 2023. That is the absolute truth, unless they got an apple turnover late in the year. I think that kind of sums it up. Most of the teams in the first round of the playoffs that I watched a little bit last year, and I don't watch a lot of other teams other than the Jaguars, but I did watch, I watched some of the first round of the playoffs. But the teams in the playoffs, that's what they played. They got to the playoffs by playing that attacking style of defense. So that's kind of what I saw. The new defense coordinator Ryan Nielsen coming in as the new DC for the Jaguars, of course. So most of the teams in the first round of the playoffs that I saw in 2023 as the playoffs got underway in January of 2024. Most of these first round playoff teams that made it to the playoffs, they kind of made it by playing that attacking style, flying to the football, gang tackling, if you will. Todd Wash and Mike Codwell's defenses both became disappointing. Defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen, kind of breathes fresh air into the Jags defense now, in my opinion. He will identify also what our defenders do best and play them in the best position where our defense can become successful and obviously stop the other team and quit allowing those sustained drives that the Jags defense was giving up in 2023. Is the personnel much different? Somewhat. You lost DeJuan Smoot. He's now with Buffalo. You do have Eric Armstead, who should be an upgrade on the defensive line, is a big defensive end who kind of plays the game like a tackle at times. He'll push the pocket. He'll get some sacks too, I'm sure. But he's going to help the other guys. He's going to help Josh Hines Allen. That's Josh's name now, right? Have I got his name right now? Josh Hines Allen. That's it. Josh Hines Allen. I'm having to get used to that. He added kind of the last name Hines Allen. He's now known as Josh Hines Allen. Changed his name going into the 2024 year. And you're listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. We're still kind of going over this, stuff about the defense. I told TJ, TJ made the post in our Big J Report Facebook group. I made another note to TJ. Okay, our defense can become successful and stop the other team. That's what I believe DC Ryan Nielsen will bring. And he's getting a heck of an opportunity. I think he can do the job. The Jags defense became too high the last 2 years prior to defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen coming in now as the Jags' new DC. Also, sent this message to TJ, another comment. TJ, watching the new Jags defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen in the press conference this week, he seems like he's very thorough in his approach and knows exactly what he wants to do and has a plan. The last defensive coordinator, not to throw stones or eggshells at Mike Codwell, who has landed on his feet with another NFL job as a position coach, but the last defensive coordinator, Mike Codwell, in the last press conference I saw defensive coordinator Mike Codwell in last year toward the end of the season after the Jags did not make the playoffs, but they had a chance to make the playoffs toward the end of the year. In the last press conference I saw Mike Codwell that he was in, he mainly was saying, we need the fans to get behind us. And that was kind of the main thrust of what he said. So I see a big difference between the two defensive coordinators, the 2023 defensive coordinator who got fired, and now the new guy in 2024 coming in that has been a defensive coordinator in the past. And now he's the Jags' new defensive coordinator, moving us into the future in 2024. I see our defense becoming solid and more typically the same players, even though you add an Eric Armstead, you add a couple of free agents here and there. The Jaguars have re-signed Tyson Campbell, Boysaid Alakun. You got Trayvon Walker now in his third year of his rookie deal. The same thing with Devin Lloyd, who a lot of people are expecting a lot from his linebacker position. These are guys that are playing for future contracts in their third year now, Devin Lloyd and Trayvon Walker. So what I'm seeing with the new defensive coordinator, I see the defense becoming solid and more of their talents being used appropriately, and now a more fundamental and attacking style of defense. And that's basically what I'm saying, in regard to the new defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. So it's going to be exciting. Preseason games coming up soon. Training camp, is open, been open, for almost a week now, or about a week. And the defense is working hard. I saw the offensive coordinator's press conference too. I probably watched a little bit more of Ryan Nielsen's press conference, and I liked it a good bit. But I did watch the offensive coordinator's press conference as well. So it's getting exciting. Just have to hope that the team can stay, healthy for the majority of the players, and hope for the best. I mean, preseason, training camp, the coordinators, including, Ryan Nielsen, and also the offensive coordinator press, they're basically, looking at everything. They're working on drills, going over the play selections. Jaguars offensive coordinator. I still heard some rumors that, Doug Peterson at this juncture really doesn't know who's going to call plays yet. I'm sure they'll get that figured out during training camp, how they're going to do it. How many plays would Doug call per game? How many plays will the offensive coordinator call? Will it be a combination of both those guys doing it, leaning on each other? And I will tell you that the offensive coordinator is impressed by the playmaking ability of Jags rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. That's according to Jaguars offensive coordinator Press Taylor. He mentioned that in a recent press conference, of course. So some exciting times for Jacksonville Jaguars fans. So we ran the scroll, got the top 14 teams. There's actually 16 teams in the SEC. 15th is Mississippi State. 16th is Vandy. How about the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp? They got hot all of a sudden. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, they've had a multitude of rainouts at home and even on the road up in Norfolk now. They had a rainout on a couple of days back, and now they're playing double headers all of a sudden. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp swept Norfolk Tides in a doubleheader on, this was actually on Friday, July the 26th of 2024. Last night, as we record this podcast on Saturday. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp now are actually 49-50. They swept Norfolk 4-3 and also 5-1 in Friday games on July the 26th. And all of a sudden now, the Jumbo Shrimp are boiling hot. They're 49-50. They've got some other games that were rained out. So they got a lot of doubleheaders coming for the Jumbo Shrimp. We've had a lot of rain in Jacksonville, by the way. Rainfall, the rain chances kind of remained at about 60%. Or more or less about 60% over the last few days. And I believe the 60% chance is still in the forecast as of today on Saturday. Rainfall close to 4 inches of rain for the last, 7 days from Friday, July 19th through the next Friday, July the 26th of 2024. A lot of rain in the Jacksonville, Florida area. We want to thank all the folks that help us out here. Saucer Realty and Capital. For your real estate needs in North Florida, go to our website at bigjreport.com. Scroll our homepage. You'll see a link for Saucer Realty and Capital. A lot of experience with Larry Saucer and his staff at Saucer Realty and Capital. And plus, you'll find the link on our website at bigjreport.com. I want to thank Mad Max and the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Max has a great show on Wednesday nights. The madmaxmix.weebly.com. You'll find the link for Mad Max's show in the Neighbors 2 section and the Outside the Box section as well. How about JC's show live from the pub on Thursday nights? Check JC out live from the pub on Thursday nights at LakeUfallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. And by the way, There's links for JC's show on our website, and we put links up in the Big J Report Facebook group from time to time to show you where he is. LakeUpAllTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. JC has a live show live from the pub on Thursday nights at LakeUpAllTheHits.com. JC plays request. Mad Max plays request, and you got those shows back to back. Mad Max on Wednesday night, JC live from the pub on Thursday nights, and you'll find links for both of those shows at bigjreport.com in the Neighbors 2 section. There's also an additional link for Mad Max in the Outside the Box section. Let's take a spin, take a look. We've got so many great things I feel like we're going to talk about in the next few episodes. We haven't hit everything I want to hit in this episode, but we're working on it. Appreciate you coming back. Hit that subscribe button. We're starting, and we just got up on YouTube a few days ago, so the subscribers are starting out a little slow. Hit the subscribe button to help us out. Let me take a look at some concerts in the area. There's no way I could publicize all of them. There's a lot of shows in and around Jacksonville, North Florida. Orange Park's got the Thrasher Horn Center going. St. Augustine has the amphitheater. Ponte Vedra, they have a concert hall there. So there's a lot of shows everywhere across Jacksonville, Duval County, North Florida, and surrounding areas. Shows up in Georgia, shows down in Central Florida, obviously. Let's take a look at the shows in and around North Florida that we would recommend, or that we would, we'd even, like to go see. I know Christopher Cross is coming to Jacksonville. I'm kind of excited about that. I don't believe I'm going to get a chance to go, but if you get a chance to go, this would be a good show. Christopher Cross is a guy that suffered from COVID for a while during the COVID time. He was sick during COVID. He's bounced back. Apparently, he's healthy enough now to go on tour, and we wish him well. And, and all the guys performing, there was a lot of difficulty during COVID with concerts being postponed, canceled. It was really tricky during COVID to even be able to go to a show or for the performers to put on a show, but we're past COVID now. And here's some of the shows coming up to North Florida. Christopher Cross coming to Jacksonville, Florida on Wednesday, August the 7th of 2024 at 8 o'clock p.m. at the Florida Theater here in Jacksonville, Florida. Christopher Cross famous for Ride Like the Wind, Sailing, Author's Theme. That's Arthur's theme. And he's in the Florida Theater venue. So you got a nice, intimate venue to see Christopher Cross. Christopher Cross coming to Jacksonville, Florida on Wednesday, August the 7th of 2024 at 8 o'clock p.m. at the Florida Theater here in Jacksonville, Florida. The music group Crowded House will be performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Thursday evening, August the 29th of 2024 at about 7 o'clock p.m. when it gets started. Again, that's a music group Crowded House. Will be performing at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Thursday evening, the 29th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Here's a good Hootie and the Blowfish on Friday evening, September the 27th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena at the Big Arena here in Jacksonville, Florida. Hootie and the Blowfish. A lot of songs. Check them out. They'll play most all of them for you during the show. Here's a hidden gem. Lou Gramm performing soon in Mount Dora, Florida. That's Lou Gramm of Foreigner. He's got a big solo hit several years ago, put out a song called Midnight Blue, which is a great song, and it's actually a Lou Gramm song in his solo career. So that's Lou Gramm, Foreigner. Gramm spent many years with the group Foreigner. Lou Gramm performing soon at the Mount Dora, Florida Community Building. Mount Dora, Florida is located just a little northwest of Orlando. So wherever you're going to the show from Jacksonville or Duval County, it's probably going to be about a 2-hour, 15-minute, 2-hour, 30-minute drive. This Lou Gramm show is scheduled now for Friday evening, October the 25th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Also, Night Ranger is going to be in Orange Park. That's just a stone's throw from Jacksonville. Orange Park is in Clay County. Sits right on the border of, Duval and Clay County, obviously. Night Ranger. And I highly recommend you go see these guys. Night Ranger, probably their biggest song was Sister Christian back in the 80s. Back in the, what was that? That was mid 1980s, early to mid 1980s. Night Ranger with Sister Christian. Night Ranger, man, they play some great guitar. Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park, Florida on Saturday, October the 26th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Hey, special thank you to our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, and LakeViewFallHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Check out JC's live from the pub show on Thursday nights, Mad Max with the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. Mad Max has a live show on Wednesday nights, 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So check out Mad Max. Check out JC live from the pub on Thursday nights, Mad Max on Wednesday nights, and for your real estate needs, Saucer Realty and Capital. We got the scroll on the screen. If you would subscribe to our channel, any comments? If you think I got the first Big J report SEC power rankings a little bit off, where would you change it? Who's too high? Who's too low? I got Florida 9th. I got Auburn 8th. I got Missouri 10th. But we also, on the high end, we got Georgia 1, Alabama 2. And let's see. The scroll's coming back around again. I'm looking at it again like everybody else is. Big J report, SEC power rankings. Number 1, Georgia. Alabama 2. Texas 3rd. Ole Miss 4th. I got Tennessee 5th. Tennessee signed some wide receivers, I believe, out of the portal that may strengthen them. LSU 6th, Texas A&M 7th, Auburn 8th, Florida 9th, Missouri 10th. So those are the top 10 out of the 16 teams, the way I see it, in the Big J Report SEC Power Rankings. Again, special thank you to our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital. You'll find links to Saucer Realty and Capital on our website at bigjreport.com, as well as the madmaxmix.weebly.com and LakeViewFallHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Special thanks. I will be shaving this weekend. I've kind of let the beard grow out a little bit the last few days, but I'll be shaving over the weekend. So the next time you see me, I should be a little more clean shaven. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Special thanks to our executive producer, JC, also to Alex Nunnery, who helps us immensely and with producing the show. And we want to thank John Gaylor, our contributor and correspondent as well. This has been another podcast of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. This one is actually episode show number 46A. We do want to salute the Jaguars long snapper, Matisic, who wears 46. I almost forgot to do that. Matisic is actually the Jaguars long snapper. And he's been doing that for about 3 years now, about 2-3 years. Matisic, Ross Matisic, was born September. Well, he was born back in September of 1996, September the 13th of 1996. And he is an American football long snapper for the Jacksonville Jaguars. How long has Matisic been with Jacksonville? Let me take a look. Jacksonville's had some good long snappers. Matisic has actually made an appearance in the Pro Bowl as a long snapper, and that's quite an achievement. Matisic is about 6 foot. The long snappers usually don't weigh as much as the regular offensive line guys, although they line up on the offensive line, primarily on punts. I'm assuming Matisic is out there on punts and I'm going to have to ask John Gaylor this. I'm assuming he's snapping on the field goals as well, because that's a long snap as well. His experience in the league, and he does wear number 46. That's why we're talking about him now. 5 years experience in the NFL. In college, he played at Baylor. And Matisic was originally signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars as a rookie free agent. Let's see. He was actually signed in 2021 by the Jaguars, April of 2021. And so he's been with the Jaguars since 2021, the last, 2 to 3 years now. So Ross Matisic, he's even made an appearance in the Pro Bowl. So we salute Ross Matisic, the Jacksonville Jaguars long snapper. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Check us out, bigjreport.com. You'll always find links for the podcast on our website at bigjreport.com. Thank you guys for listening. And hey, we'll be back again real soon. Thank you for listening. Check us out at bigjreport.com. Hit that subscribe button. All your comments are welcome below. Thank you. Thank you for listening and watching. We'll be back. We'll absolutely be back again real soon with more content on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I'm Scott with bigjreport.com, your host.